Hello there, it's Bianca from The Closet Historian, and today I wanted to talk to you about shoes. In fact, I wanted to share with you guys some of the places and brands that I get my retro or vintage inspired shoes from. It's one of the questions I get kind of quite often, is where I get shoes to match my sewing projects, my retro and vintage kind of outfits that I wear. So some people I think find it hard to find where to get the shoes that work. Again, one of the biggest things is going to be research, so you know what you're looking for. There are a lot of good, just basic style heels or sort of lace-up front Oxfords that have been in style for a very, very long time. So if you know and you're researching 40s and 50s shoes and know what you're looking for, you can find shoes to match your retro and vintage outfits at places like DSW or regular shoe shops, Payless, wherever you're shopping for shoes. There are going to be styles that have hung around for a very long time. So a basic black pump, for example, with like a rounded toe is going to be good for a lot of eras. So things like that are good to keep in mind. Research is your number one friend, as always. So something to keep in mind as I go through these brands and different stores is that the scale is kind of that I'm starting with the most uncomfortable, least expensive, and least quality shoes in the beginning, and then the brands I'll talk about at the end of this video are going to be your best quality, most comfortable, and most of the time leather shoes at the end. And I know for some people leather isn't really an option, so there definitely are vegan friendly shoes out there with a lot of fake leather, but just something to keep in mind as I go through these different brands. Of course, that things that are cheaper are going to be worse quality and not as comfortable as the more expensive shoes that I'm going to talk about near the end of the video. So of course, the easiest and cheapest way to get some retro inspired shoes is just to search for some things on Amazon. It's not the best place to source anything really. If you can buy books at your local bookshop or even just Barnes & Noble, please do that. Amazon's not the best place to be shopping, especially not the most ethical place to be shopping, but there are things to be found on there, and it's a really good place to start if you don't have much money to invest in the beginning. So I understand, and I've definitely bought shoes on there myself, including this pair of little lace-up white shoes that you may have seen me wear on my blog this summer. So you can find cute shoes on there, and they're very much a good like 40s style to wear with like more sportier outfits in the summertime. And these, again, made in China, just a little random brand. They don't even have a name in the inside. I just found them on Amazon. I searched white lace-up heels and they came up. So if you're looking for something specific and you can't find it from any of the other better, more quality and more ethically sourced brands, then of course Amazon is an option out there, but it's just not the best option. And these are not the most comfortable shoes, of course. And the quality is like you would expect when you're only paying about $25 for a pair of shoes. So they're not fabulous, they're not leather, but they do have the right look if you know what you're looking for because of research you've put in. You know the kind of details to look for when you're trying to choose a shoe that looks more vintage as opposed to modern. So Amazon is a place to get shoes. It's just not the best place to get shoes in my opinion. So let's talk about some other brands that might be a better option for you guys. So I would say a popular place to get retro or sort of vintage inspired shoes is on ModCloth, of course. These guys are a pretty common shoe from ModCloth. I have them in this navy color and black, but they also come in gold glitter, mustard yellow, I think burgundy. They've come in several colors over the years. So this little T-strap with the cutouts here is a pretty common style for ModCloth. I think they carry it all the time. And these are really cute and really good for like a basic retro shoe. I think when I first started out wearing vintage inspired style, I bought these in the navy and the black from them. These are actually my second pairs. I've gone through them because they are a faux suede and I will wear them out pretty quickly because of that. So they're not, again, the world's best quality. This isn't a real leather heel, but for people who wanted a vegan option, this is a good option for that. So ModCloth is a good place to find retro inspired or vintage inspired shoes. Sometimes they have shoes from actual reproduction, vintage reproduction companies on there as well, but they're just a good place to find all kinds of different brands that do sort of a vintage style shoe as well. So it's a good spot. It's not going to be too expensive on ModCloth. Their price range is about probably anywhere from like $40 to $100 for shoes usually. Sometimes they have some more expensive pairs, sometimes they have really good deals, but it's a really good place to look for retro inspired shoes. Oh, I just hit the mic completely. Wow. So as far as specific brands, the first one I'll talk about is Chelsea Crew. These are a Chelsea Crew heel here. These ones are the red and white T-strap. I think they're called the Gatsby on several websites. I also have them in navy and white, and both of those pairs I got on royalvintageshoes.com. They do have Chelsea Crew heels on ModCloth, and you can probably find them on other places around the internet, including Amazon as well. But I try and support small businesses and more vintage style supportive businesses like Royal Vintage Shoes whenever I can. Usually it's going to be the same price, and I would rather support a business that I know is more ethical or just is supporting vintage style and bloggers and people like that. So I like to support smaller businesses if I can, even if I'm buying a bigger brand shoe. Chelsea Crew heels are pretty comfortable. They're not going to be as bad as the cheap, $12.99 Amazon shoes. So they're a little bit more comfortable. I definitely have pairs that I can wear all day. It is kind of more of a shoe by shoe basis to see whether or not they're going to be super uncomfortable. I found the quality is pretty consistent on the Chelsea Crew heels. They're not real leather, but that's again a good option for people who are vegan or vegetarian or don't buy leather. So they're not going to be a leather shoe, and so that way they won't break in or wear the same way like a leather shoe would. But for some people that's a bonus, so that's good. And I really like Chelsea Crew heels. I think that sometimes they make things that are a little off the mark when it comes to retro or vintage shoes. They are definitely more of a vintage inspired brand as opposed to a vintage reproduction brand. So that's something to look out for as well. But you can find styles that will really work for your vintage outfits. They're not too crazy expensive like real reproduction shoes are going to be, but they're not crazy cheap like the little cheapy heels on Amazon are going to be. Another specific brand I always look through when they come up with new releases are called Bait Footwear. This is a pair of Bait Footwear shoes that I have. It's sort of a ivory patent leather, regular like mid-century pump. They come in this color and then I think black and red, this style does. And I have, I think, 4 other pairs of Bait Footwear shoes that I have gotten either on Royal Vintage Shoes or on ModCloth over the years. And I find these to be quite comfortable. These ones are moderately comfortable, but my sandal styles from them, or even a heeled sandal, are really quite comfortable from Bait shoes. So I think the comfort level is definitely there. I think these run about $75 to maybe $125, so a little bit more expensive than your average ModCloth or average Amazon kind of heel. But the styling is definitely there. They have a lot of really good retro reproduction or close to retro reproduction styles. Some of the materials and colors they choose are a little bit more modern, but the shapes, they have a lot of really good reproduction vintage looking shapes that are going to be really good with your vintage styling. And the comfort is, again, pretty good. I would say they're not the maximum comfort level. I couldn't stand in them all day, but they're definitely good for walking around. They're not crazy terrible like some of my Amazon shoes are. They come in a lot of colors, so that's something to look out for too. If you're looking for a specific color or maybe something really special for a particular outfit, Bait might be a good source to look at. I've never ordered directly from their website. For Bait shoes, for Bait footwear, I should say, I usually order off of Royal Vintage or ModCloth. I haven't found them really anywhere else. Actually, I'm lying because I actually bought this pair off of eBay. So that's another thing to look for too. Sometimes retro reproduction shoes that are more expensive, you can find them on eBay when people have bought the wrong size or just didn't work with their style or whatever. So these ones were barely worn and I got them on eBay for $30, which is much cheaper than they go for at retail. So that's another way to snag vintage inspired shoes as well, is on places like eBay, where people sell off their closet basically, and so you can end up with some good bargains that way. So if I'm not looking to make a huge investment, Chelsea Crew, Bait, ModCloth, Amazon, those are the places I go to get shoes for around $100. If I'm looking to invest in something I know I'm going to use season after season, or that I really like the look and styling of, or I know the quality is going to be great, I go with Royal Vintage Shoes, house brand, or with Remix. I only have 1 pair of Remix shoes so far, but they're a well-known brand within the vintage reproduction shoe community, so I'll talk about them a little bit more in a minute. But Royal Vintage Shoes is a great store, not only to find Bait, Chelsea Crew, and other brands that have been selected. Styles from those brands that have been selected for their authenticity are going to be on Royal Vintage Shoes. It's a curated web shop of other brands, as well as their in-house brand. And their in-house brand is amazing. I wear their Maryland Basic Pump all the time. I have it in the red color and the black, which is the only 2 colors it comes in for now. Hopefully they'll come out with more colors in the future, because I love a brown or a navy blue. I would totally Lauren, please, brown or navy blue. Dark chocolate brown, dark navy blue. Anyway, so some of their shoes are just really stunning. As you can see, this one from their Deco Darlings collection this last spring. This is the, I can't remember what they're called. Oh, the Evelyn. These are the Evelyns in the tan and brown canvas. Super sporty, cute 30 shoe. Super, super well researched. Very much a reproduction shoe, not an inspired shoe. These are made to be, vintage shoes for the modern gal. And they are super comfortable. You can wear them all day. So I highly, highly recommend Royal Vintage Shoes. All of the styles I've tried from them have been great. and I will talk about them a little bit more in a dedicated video. But Royal Vintage Shoes is a super great website and a great source for vintage style shoes, so check them out for sure. So the cream at the top of the retro reproduction shoe market, as far as I can tell so far, are going to be Remix shoes. They're out of Los Angeles. That's where I got these. That's where their boutique is. I think that's where the brand is based. They're called Remix shoes, or Remix Luxury Vintage Classics. That's what this one is. And this one is a suede with leather trim and a croc heel. And it's amazing how comfortable these are. These are my most comfortable pair of heels I think I've ever owned. Remix is in a different class of price for sure. These ones were $190, I believe, and that's why I only have one pair of Remix right now. I'm hoping to add more eventually, but they're definitely something I have to save up for, and they are an investment. The comfort, style, and quality definitely match the price point. So even though you're paying quite a bit more than like your average sort of retro inspired shoe, these are vintage reproductions. They're usually made with all leather, as far as I can tell, and they are really comfortable. So these are the most comfortable pair of heels I own by far. So it's something to keep in mind. Remix, although they're at the higher price point, there's a reason. I went to the boutique and I saw other styles in person. They are all gorgeous as far as I can tell. So for me, Remix is kind of the tops when it comes to retro reproduction shoes, and hopefully I can add more to my collection someday, but they are quite pricey. So those are some of my favorite retro reproduction or vintage inspired shoe brands and sources. If you guys have other brands or sources and stores that you get your retro shoes from, please leave them in the comments below, because I'd love to have another source for more shoes. I know there's a brand, I believe they're out of the UK, called Rocket Originals, and I haven't tried any of their shoes yet. They're a little bit more casual, whereas I stick to kind of fancier or high-heeled shoes in general. So that's kind of the brands that I go to for them. But if you guys know of other brands, please leave them below. And thank you for stopping by today, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye! Whew, having a good time. Can't do it.